The stars lit up with fire. At first it looked like another meteor storm, distant flashes against the night sky, streaks of burning light moving too fast to follow. But then the comm channels filled with screams. The streaks were not meteors. They were alien warships, massive, countless, and merciless. They broke through the edge of human space without warning. In less than one night, 3 colonies vanished. Whole cities reduced to ash. Children, families, workers, all gone before they even knew they were under attack. The galaxy expected Earth to beg for help. That was the natural order. Weaker species always cried out when stronger ones crushed them, but Earth stayed silent. Humanity did not weep. Humanity did not plead. They watched, quiet, cold, waiting. The alien Armada belonged to the Veyari, a predator race that believed in conquest above all else. To them, peace was weakness, mercy was foolish. They ruled through fear, demanding tribute from every lesser species they encountered, and to them, humans looked like prey. For centuries, Earth had shown the galaxy a picture of restraint. Humans traded fairly. They followed council laws. They avoided wars, kept their fleets small, and smiled when insulted. To the Veyari, it was laughable. Civilized, the aliens called them. Harmless. A weak little world with soft skin and softer hearts. The Veyari's leaders told themselves the humans would never fight back. They would complain. They would protest. They would demand justice through the council. And when the council ignored them, they would stay quiet. That was the civilized way. And so the attacks continued. On the colony world of Arden 3, the ground shook as alien bombardment tore through the skies. Families huddled in shelters as fire rained down. The defenders, only a handful of outdated ships, never stood a chance. They were burned out of the sky in minutes. On Titan Outpost, the story was the same. Miners working the ice tunnels watched in horror as black ships blotted out Saturn's rings. Their radios carried only one sound, static, as the orbital defense. Platforms died instantly. Within hours, Titan went dark. On Haven Prime, a farming colony, there wasn't even resistance. The Veyari landed, burned the fields, and carried away prisoners. The rest they slaughtered, leaving only smoke rising into the void. By morning, 3 worlds were gone. The galaxy reacted with amusement. On the networks, alien commentators laughed. The humans will cry now, they said. They will go to their council, as always. They will beg for pity. They will try to look strong, but in the end they are too tame to fight. And yet, Earth remained silent. The colonies burned. The people mourned. But the core worlds of humanity, Earth, Mars, Luna, issued no response, no speeches, no threats, no plea for help. They simply watched. Inside hidden command centers beneath Earth's crust, however, things were very different. Screens glowed with reports from every fallen world. Military officers studied each line of data. Every weapon the Veyari used was recorded. Every tactic was measured, their formations, their shield harmonics, their preferred strike patterns, all logged in silence. No one shouted, no one panicked. The room was quiet, filled only with the sound of machines. Humanity was learning, because humans had learned long ago. When predators think you are weak, you let them believe it, until the moment comes to strike back. On Mars, a woman named Admiral Kira Voss stood before a darkened window, watching the faint glow of Earth. She had fought wars before, though never against a force this large. Her officers waited for orders, but she gave none. Not yet. Let them think we are afraid, she said. Let them think we are civilized. Her words echoed in the silence. Every officer understood. Meanwhile, the Veyari grew bolder. Their fleets moved deeper into human space, targeting more colonies at the edge. They laughed when they destroyed defense fleets. They mocked human tactics. Is this all? One Veyari commander sneered, watching another human destroyer fall apart under plasma fire. They roll over like frightened animals. Civilization has made them soft, but in their arrogance, They missed something. They missed the strange quiet in Earth's response. They missed the way human fleets did not scatter in panic, but instead pulled back in perfect order. They missed the whispers spreading through alien networks, that Earth had not yet begun to fight. On alien worlds across the galaxy, ordinary citizens asked questions. Why do the humans stay silent? Why do they not plead with the Council, as others do? What are they waiting for? Some remembered old stories, legends told by travelers and smugglers. Tales of humans who, when pushed too far, became something else, not prey, not civilized, but predators unlike any other. Stories of soldiers who would fight even when broken. Stories of fleets that never surrendered. Stories of war so brutal that even the strongest empires dared not awaken it again. Most dismissed these tales as myths, but others whispered, what if the humans are only pretending? On Earth, the first whispers of a final warning began. In dark alleys, in hidden forums, in coded transmissions, the same words repeated, push us further, and we stop playing civilized. The words spread quietly, carried on unseen channels, passed between soldiers, miners, and workers. No one knew where it began, but the phrase carried weight. It was not a threat, it was a promise. By the end of the first week, the galaxy was laughing louder. Humans are weak, the commentators said. They pretend at strength but hide behind their civilization. They will do nothing. And yet, in the shadows, preparations began. Hidden shipyards under Neptune's storms powered up long-forgotten reactors. Buried bunkers on Luna unlocked sealed armories older than the Council itself. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, massive silhouettes stirred, war machines waiting for release. The mask of mercy was still on, but cracks were forming. On the burned colony of Arden 3, a handful of survivors crawled from the rubble. They found themselves face to face with human marines, soldiers who had arrived too late to save the colony, but not too late to witness the destruction. One survivor asked, voice shaking, "Will Earth do nothing?" The Marines' reply was calm. "We are watching, we are waiting, and when the time is right, the galaxy will remember who we are." The survivor did not understand, but the Marines' eyes held no fear, only patience. The Veyari, blinded by arrogance, continued to push. More fleets entered human space, more colonies burned, more lives ended. The galaxy watched, expecting Earth to break. But Earth did not break. Earth listened, Earth measured, Earth endured. And in the silence, in the calm before the storm, one truth became clear. Humanity had given its first unspoken warning, and the galaxy had ignored it. The galaxy lived in expectation. Everyone waited for Earth's cries. They waited for the begging, the pleas for mercy, the desperate appeals to the Council. That was what weak species did when predators struck them. That was the natural order. But Earth remained silent. Days passed. Colonies burned. Human refugees filled starports on neutral worlds. Yet no words came from Earth, no diplomats, no speeches, no desperate promises of tribute, only silence. And then, without warning, that silence ended. It began with a flicker. On a mining station orbiting a red dwarf star, screens glitched and went black. The miners cursed, thinking it was another power cut. But then the same thing happened on a luxury liner orbiting a gas giant hundreds of light years away. Entertainment systems cut out. Navigation consoles froze. Even personal datapads shut down all at once. Across the galaxy, every channel of communication went dark. Then a face appeared. It was human. The face was pale, lit only by a single cold light. No banners, no flag, no background. Just a person. Male. Strong features, eyes steady, voice calm. There was no introduction, no greeting, no request, only words that made entire planets fall silent. Push us further, and we stop playing civilized. On the Council's central world, tens of billions. of aliens froze as the same human face appeared on every public display. Market stalls stopped moving. Vehicles drifted to halts. Entire cities fell into eerie silence, watching. The words repeated again, steady, measured, push us further. And we stopped playing Civilized. No shouting, no anger. Just calm. Almost. Too calm. And then the broadcast ended. Just like that, the galaxy erupted in chaos. On some worlds, aliens laughed. "Is this all?" they jeered. "A threat spoken by one face?" But others felt something colder, because the message was not a plea. It was not an appeal for help. It was not even negotiation. It was a warning, a final one. The Veyari commanders were the first to dismiss it. "They are trying to scare us," one general said, teeth bared. "They are still weak. Their colonies fall with ease. This broadcast is nothing but noise." And yet, some of their officers shifted uneasily, because there was something about the way the human had spoken. Not the words, not the tone. Something deeper, a quiet confidence, a certainty that did not belong to the weak. But the Veyari pushed the thought aside. They had power, they had numbers, and they believed fear kept them strong. So they laughed, and they attacked again. Meanwhile, across neutral space, whispers spread like wildfire. Did you see their eyes? They did not look afraid. Is it true what the smugglers say? That humans have been hiding something? Old stories began to surface. Stories most had dismissed as myths. Stories of the time when humans fought the Veyari Empire centuries ago. Stories of fleets that vanished. In fire, stories of soldiers who fought even when torn apart. Stories that always ended the same way. Do not push humanity too far. On Earth, in the silent war rooms hidden deep underground, the broadcast was watched and reviewed. Some argued it was too much, that it would provoke the enemy further. Others argued it was too little, that Earth should have already struck back. But Admiral Kira Voss only shook her head. "They will laugh," she said. "They will not believe. That is what we want. Let them push further. Let them wake what they do not understand." Her officers stayed silent, because they understood. The warning was not for the enemy. It was for the galaxy. On the burned colony of Arden 3, survivors huddled in makeshift camps, patched together with scraps of steel and ruined stone. They too saw the broadcast, and for the first time since the attack, they felt something strange. Not hope, not joy, but a sharp, cold feeling, like a blade pressed against the future, a promise of retribution. The council gathered in emergency session. Representatives from 100 species shouted at once, "This is dangerous." One cried, "They must be silenced before they destabilize the galaxy," another demanded. Others argued in whispers, "What if they are not bluffing?" But the loud voices drowned them out. In the end, the council did nothing. They feared the Veyari more than they feared Earth. Back in Veyari space, the commanders made their decision. They would answer Earth's warning with fire. More fleets mobilized, more weapons charged, and yet, hidden beneath the bravado, a seed of doubt began to grow. One admiral whispered to another, "What if they mean it?" The other did not answer. The galaxy now waited. Some laughed, some feared, but none could look away, because humanity had spoken at last, and their words carried the weight of a predator that had not yet bared its teeth. The enemy believed the warning was just words, but when they tested it, an entire fleet vanished into silence. The Veyari sat in their war chambers, laughter echoing against steel walls. Humans had spoken their so-called final warning. To the Veyari, it was nothing more than noise. Empty words from a weak species trying to look fierce. Push us further, and we stop playing Civilized. To the conquerors of 100 systems, that was amusing. The Veyari had crushed empires, far greater than Earth. They had burned fleets 3 times the size of humanity's entire navy. Civilized words could not stop them, and so they decided to test it. The order was given: assemble a fleet, not the largest, not the most powerful, just enough to make the point. 20 ships, battle cruisers armed with plasma lances and siege cannons, were sent to the edge of Saturn's orbit. Their target, Titan, one of humanity's oldest outposts. The Veyari commanders were certain. The humans would try to resist, but it would be hopeless. Titan would burn, like Arden 3, like Haven Prime, and the galaxy would laugh at humanity's warning. From the icy tunnels beneath Titan's surface, miners watched the black silhouettes appear against the stars. 20 alien warships, glowing. With crimson engines sliding into orbit, the colony governor tried to rally the defense. Old orbital guns powered up. Patrol ships scrambled into position. But everyone knew the truth. These defenses were nothing against a Veyari fleet. Inside shelters, families clutched each other, waiting for fire, and yet the fire never came. It began with silence. The Veyari fleet formed into its standard attack pattern. Commanders barked orders, weapons charged. Targeting systems locked onto the colony, and then nothing. Screens flickered, sensors went dark. Entire ships froze mid-action. Confused captains shouted into comms, demanding answers, but the comms gave only static. One ship after another, the Veyari war machines fell quiet. Their engines dimmed, their shields blinked out. From the colony surface, miners stared in disbelief as the enemy armada hung motionless in the sky. For a single endless moment, the fleet drifted like shadows, and then light, bright, sharp, and terrifying. From the blackness beyond Saturn's rings a ripple appeared. Not a ship, not a missile, something unseen, bending light itself. The ripple spread, wrapped around the Veyari fleet, and the ships began to vanish, 1, 2, 3 at a time, without explosions, without wreckage. They simply ceased to exist. Panic filled the Veyari channels. Engines offline. We are being pulled? Unknown weapon, unknown weapon. And then silence. In less than 2 minutes, the entire fleet was gone. Not destroyed, not scattered, gone. On Titan, the colonists wept, not in fear, in shock, in awe. The enemy that had burned so many worlds had vanished before their eyes. No one understood what weapon had been used. No one even saw the attackers clearly, only a faint ripple in space. Then nothing. But one truth was clear. Earth's warning had not been empty. Across the galaxy, news spread faster than light. At first, reports were dismissed as lies. A Veyari fleet cannot vanish, commentators said. It is propaganda. But then the official logs leaked. 20 warships, no survivors, no wreckage. The laughter stopped. In the council chambers, silence reigned. Representatives stared. At one another, fear written across alien faces. If humans have such weapons, one whispered. Impossible. Another insisted, though their voice shook. The council argued, but deep down they all knew. The balance had shifted. In Veyari territory, panic spread through the military. Admirals demanded explanations. Scientists tore through records. No one could explain what had happened. 20 of their strongest warships erased without a trace. The High Command raged. They used trickery. They cannot match our strength. But no one could hide the truth. Something had taken their fleet, and humanity had not even claimed responsibility. On Earth, Admiral Kira Voss stood before her officers in the hidden war room. The news was everywhere now. The galaxy was whispering, but Voss gave no speech of triumph, no declaration of power. Instead, she simply said, "Now they know we were not bluffing, but they will not stop. Predators never do. They will push again. And when they do, we will be ready." Her officers nodded, silent, determined. On the streets of alien worlds, fear grew. Ordinary citizens remembered the human broadcast. "Push us further, and we stop playing Civilized." Now, the words sounded different. They sounded real. If 20 warships could vanish without a fight, what would happen when the humans truly stopped holding back? But the Veyari did not surrender. Humiliated, furious, desperate to prove their strength, they prepared something larger, something they believed no weapon could erase, a full invasion fleet. Hundreds of ships, enough to burn not just colonies but Earth itself. The galaxy had seen the mask crack, but soon they would watch it fall. The galaxy buzzed with fear. 20 Veyari warships had vanished without leaving even wreckage behind. An entire fleet gone in minutes. No one knew how, no one could explain it. But one truth spread from world to world, whispered in markets, taverns and council halls. The humans had not been bluffing, and yet the Veyari did not stop. Humiliation burned hotter than reason. To lose ships was one thing, but to lose face, to look weak before the galaxy, was unbearable. The Veyari lived on fear. They ruled by it. If others began to doubt their strength, their empire would collapse. So they prepared something far greater. Not a raid, not a warning. Strike, an invasion. The fleet they gathered dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. 300 warships, flagships the size of cities, siege carriers bristling with weapons, swarms of escort ships like metal locusts. It was not just an army. It was a message. We are the Veyari, we are still the predators, and their target was Earth. When the fleet broke into human space, every sensor lit up. The galaxy watched through stolen feeds and whispered channels. This time, there would be no silence, no mysterious vanishing act. Humanity would be crushed in full view of everyone. That was what the Veyari promised. On Earth, in the hidden war rooms beneath the crust, alarms rang. Officers rushed to stations, reports flooding in. 300 ships, moving fast, tearing through human trade routes like a storm. Fear rippled across colonies and stations, but in the war room, Admiral Kira Voss was calm. "Good," she said softly, her eyes locked on the tactical map. "They've finally come. Let them." Her words spread across the command center like fire. Officers straightened. Soldiers stood taller. The mask of mercy had served its purpose. Now it was time to take it off. The Veyari fleet reached the outer colonies first. On New Carthage, families ran to shelters expecting fire. But instead of despair, they saw something else. The sky filled with human warships. Not the old patrol ships, not the outdated defense frigates the galaxy knew. These were different, ships that seemed to drink in the light, their dark hulls glowing with faint blue lines. Engines that moved without sound, bending space itself, weapons glowing like the cores of dying stars. The humans had hidden them for decades, maybe longer. And now, for the first time, they were unleashed. The battle began in silence. The Veyari roared across comm channels, boasting of conquest, demanding surrender. The humans answered with nothing. Their ships moved like predators, silent, swift, precise. The first exchange lasted seconds. Veyari cannons lit up the void with fire, slamming into human shields. But instead of shattering, the human ships absorbed the blows, their armor glowing white-hot, holding strong. Then the humans struck back. Beams of focused energy cut through Veyari cruisers like knives through glass. Torpedoes moved as if alive, weaving past defenses, slamming into engines and splitting ships apart. In less than 5 minutes, 10 Veyari ships were gone. Across the galaxy, billions watched the leaked feeds in disbelief. The Veyari were not winning. They were not even holding ground. They were prey. On the bridge of the Veyari flagship, panic grew. These weapons, how do they have them? They were never this strong. This is impossible. But it was not impossible. It was the mask of mercy falling at last. Human commanders issued no victory cries, no taunts. They spoke only calm, efficient orders. Target engines, cut their line. Intercept their carriers. Do not let them launch. Strike here, here, here. And the Veyari fleet broke apart under the precision of predators. On New Carthage, colonists ran into the streets staring at the sky. Where they expected to see their homes burn, they saw the opposite. Veyari ships exploding like fireworks. Human warships moving through the chaos, unharmed, unshaken. The people cheered. For the first time since the war began, they saw hope. But for the Veyari, it was the beginning of fear. The invasion faltered, dozens of ships lost, hundreds crippled. The Veyari tried to regroup, to pull back into formation, but every time they gathered, the humans struck, breaking them apart again and again. 300 ships had entered human space. By the end of the battle, only fragments remained. The survivors fled, limping back into the void, carrying with them a truth they could no longer deny. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had been waiting. Across the galaxy, silence reigned. The feeds replayed endlessly. Alien commentators struggled for words. They hid this. For how long? Decades. Why would they pretend to be weak? What else are they hiding? The laughter was gone. In its place was fear. On Earth, Admiral Voss stood before her officers. "The mask is gone," she said. "Now they will see us for what we are, and they will remember why we chose to wear it." Her officers nodded, because they all knew the truth. The Veyari had made the mistake of pushing too far. And now the war would no longer be fought in whispers. It would be fought in fire. The galaxy wanted to know, why had humanity pretended to be weak for so long? The answer lay buried in a history the stars had almost forgotten. The galaxy was silent. The Veyari invasion had failed. Hundreds of their warships lay in ruins. Earth had stood not weak, not fragile, but terrible in strength, and yet a greater question spread across the stars. Why? Why had humanity pretended to be weak for so long? In council chambers, whispers turned into arguments. They hid there. Power! For what purpose? What else are they keeping from us? But the humans said nothing. Their leaders gave no explanations. Their fleets returned to silent patrols. Their worlds offered no answers. To the galaxy, the mystery was unbearable. And then, an old secret began to resurface. It started with fragments, ancient records, forgotten ruins, whispers from species that had lived long before the Veyari rose. To power, stories of wars that had scarred entire star systems, wars fought by humans against something long vanished. The aliens who dug into history pieced together the fragments with fear, and what they found was worse than anything they imagined. Long before the Council existed, before the Veyari Empire stretched across the stars, there had been another age, an age of fire. When humanity first stepped into the galaxy, they did not come as farmers or traders. They came as conquerors. The early human fleets burned with ambition. Their colonies spread like wildfire, and when they met resistance, they crushed it. Entire civilizations fell before them. The galaxy remembered them not as builders, but as predators. The records told of worlds erased, skies turned to ash, and fleets hunted until nothing remained. But the humans did not fight for cruelty alone. They fought something else. Something darker, a war against an ancient enemy, one so destructive that even its name had been erased from history. The humans had faced them, fought them, and in the end defeated them. But victory came at a cost. The galaxy bled, stars burned, civilizations vanished, and in the ruins humanity made a choice. They put down their weapons, they erased their own war machines. They buried their fleets in silence. They swore never to become predators again. It was not weakness, it was restraint. Humanity had hidden its fangs not because it lacked them, but because the last time they were shown, the galaxy almost died. But the Veyari had forced the mask to fall, and the galaxy now saw the truth. On Earth, Admiral Kira Voss stood in the war archives, deep beneath the surface. Walls of ancient steel surrounded her, etched with the names of battles long forgotten. Young officers followed her, their faces pale as she spoke. Thousands of years ago, we learned the truth. We are not like the others. We are not peaceful. By nature, We are predators, and we swore never to unleash that side of us again." Her voice grew harder. "But the Veyari leave us no choice. They brought war to our doorstep, and now the galaxy will see the humans who ended the last age of fire." The officers listened in silence, the weight of history pressing down on them. They understood now. The warning had never been a bluff. It was a promise, carved into humanity's very soul. Across alien worlds, fear deepened. If humanity had fought such wars before, if they had erased entire civilizations in the past, then what would happen now when they had chosen to fight again? The Veyari had woken something ancient, something the galaxy had prayed would stay buried forever. In the Veyari capital, panic spread like wildfire. Admirals shouted for more ships, more weapons, more soldiers, but deep down they knew the truth. Their empire had made the worst mistake imaginable. They had forced humanity to stop pretending. For the first time, the galaxy looked at Earth not with pity, but with terror. Because the stories were no longer legends. They were warnings, warnings that were now coming true. The galaxy had unearthed humanity's buried past, but soon they would witness something far worse. The humans preparing for total war. The Veyari had always ruled through terror. Fear was their weapon. Fear was their shield, but now, for the first time, the predators of the galaxy felt fear themselves. It began in whispers. Survivors from the failed invasion limped back to the Veyari homeworld. Ships torn apart, crews broken, admirals trembling. Their stories spread like wildfire. They didn't fight like prey. They didn't fight like the Council. They hunted us. One survivor, his scales pale and voice shaking, told, "The High Command. We fired everything we had. It did not matter. Their ships moved like ghosts. Their weapons cut us apart as if we were nothing." The chamber fell silent. And in that silence, the first cracks of fear appeared. The Veyari. Emperors tried to cover the truth. They called the survivors liars. They claimed the battle was exaggerated. They declared that humanity was only lucky, but the Empire's soldiers had seen the feeds. They had watched their proud warships burn. They had heard the human broadcast with their own ears. "Push us further, and we stop playing civilized." And now they knew the humans had meant every word. On the training grounds of the Veyari military academies, young recruits whispered in the dark, "Do you think the humans will come here? They've hidden fleets for centuries. What else? Have they hidden? They say they fought wars before, wars that ended whole civilizations. Fear spread faster than discipline. Soldiers obeyed their orders, but their eyes betrayed them. No one wanted to be the next fleet sent against Earth. In the Empire's capital, riots began. Merchants refused to ship goods into human space. Colonies near the border sent desperate requests to withdraw. Civilians protested in the streets, shouting, "You've angered them. You'll bring them here." For a species that thrived on dominance, the taste of fear was unbearable. The High Command grew desperate. They called emergency councils, their voices shaking with hidden panic. "They cannot be that strong," one general snarled, slamming his claws against the table. "They only won because we underestimated them." But another answered softly, "And what if we didn't? What if this is who they truly are?" Silence followed. None dared speak the thought aloud, but all were thinking it. If humanity had hidden its true strength for centuries, then the Veyari had provoked not a weak race, but the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. In the shadows of the capital, spies reported more troubling news. Human fleets were moving. Not the old, fragile fleets the galaxy had mocked. The hidden ones, the black warships with glowing engines, and they were not massing only around Earth. They were spreading, slowly, silently, across the stars, preparing. Panic turned to paranoia. To see, Veyari leadership demanded to know, how many ships do the humans truly have? Some said hundreds, some said thousands. Some whispered that Earth had entire armadas buried in secret docks, waiting for the day they would be unleashed. No one knew the truth. And that ignorance was worse than any weapon, because in war, the unknown kills faster than the blade. In the council chambers of allied species, the fear was no less. Some worlds that had once cheered the Veyari now begged for neutrality. Others sent hidden envoys to Earth, offering quiet alliances. Even enemies of humanity, long-time rivals, hesitated. Because if the Veyari, predators of the stars, were running scared, what chance did anyone else have? And yet, the Veyari could not stop. They could not retreat. They could not admit weakness. Their entire empire was built on dominance, on fear. If they surrendered to humanity, if they even hesitated, their own vassals would rise against them. So even as fear gripped their hearts, they prepared for another strike. In the deepest vaults of the Veyari Empire, weapons long forbidden were awakened, biological plagues, outlawed by every treaty. Super weapons designed to tear holes in stars, machines that turned entire planets into fire. They swore these weapons would never be used, but fear made them desperate. "If we cannot break the humans with fleets," the High Command whispered, "we will break them with annihilation." But even as they made their plans, one truth poisoned their thoughts. What if the humans had already prepared for this? What if Earth had counters for every weapon they unleashed? What if the humans had seen this all before, because they had fought wars like this in the past? The more the Veyari tried to plan, the more their fear deepened. Because predators fight with strength, but prey fights with desperation, and humanity was neither. Humanity was something far worse. On Earth, Admiral Kira Voss watched the feeds from Veyari space. She saw the riots, the panic, the desperate gatherings of war councils, and she said only one thing: good. Let them fear. Fear is the beginning of understanding, but if they keep pushing, fear will become extinction. The Veyari were preparing their deadliest weapons, but humanity was no longer hiding theirs either. The galaxy had never been this silent, not after battles, not after invasions, not even after empires had fallen. Every world, every colony, every station waited, holding its breath. Because everyone, it knew, the humans would speak again, and when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The Veyari Empire was in chaos, their fleets shattered, their people afraid, their rulers desperate. But still, they refused to surrender. Pride was their curse. They could not bow. They could not admit weakness. So they prepared their forbidden weapons, plagues, starbreakers, engines of annihilation, believing that with enough destruction, they could frighten the humans back into silence. But before those weapons could launch, the humans sent their message. It began the same way as before, with silence. Screens across the galaxy flickered. Transmissions were overridden. Every world, every fleet, every council chamber froze as the broadcast began. And once again, it was Admiral Kira Voss, her face calm, her eyes cold. She spoke without anger, without cruelty, only with finality. "This is the last time I will speak." Her voice cut through the stars like steel. "You have pushed us again and again. You burned our colonies. You slaughtered our people. And still we held back. Still we wore the mask of mercy." Her eyes narrowed. "But mercy is not endless. Patience is not weakness. You have mistaken silence for fear. You have mistaken restraint for defeat. That was your last mistake." She leaned forward, her voice low, sharp, unshakable. "This is our final demand. Stop. Stop your war. Stop your attacks. Stop your lies. Withdraw your fleets. End your conquest. If you do not—" She paused, letting the silence stretch like the edge of a blade. "Then the next time we fight, we will not stop. We will not limit our power. We will not hold back. You will see the real humans, and you will not survive." Her words echoed across the galaxy. Billions watched in silence, their breaths shallow, their hearts pounding, because in that voice there was no bluff, no exaggeration, only truth. The humans had fought with restraint. That restraint was gone. On the Veyari homeworld, the High Command roared in anger. They dare threaten us. They think we will kneel. But even as they shouted, their claws trembled. Their eyes darted to one another because they had seen the feeds. They had seen fleets vanish. They had seen 300 ships crushed. And they knew, if the humans unleashed everything, there would be no empire left to rule. On neutral worlds, leaders held emergency meetings. Some begged to surrender immediately. Others whispered of alliances with Earth. All agreed on one thing. The humans had changed the galaxy forever. The Veyari considered their choices. If they bowed, their rule ended. If they fought, their species ended. It was a choice between pride and extinction. And predators with pride are always the most dangerous. Admiral Voss ended the broadcast with words that would be remembered for centuries. This is the last warning humanity will ever give. Push us further, and we will stop, pretending to be civilized. Then the screens went dark. Silence swept the stars, and in that silence the galaxy realized something terrifying. The humans were not asking, they were deciding. The Veyari now faced their choice: surrender or test humanity's promise. And the galaxy waited to see which path they would take. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had spoken. One last time. One last warning, and now all that remained was the Veyari's answer. In the Veyari capital, the High Command gathered in secret chambers. The air was thick with tension, their scaled hands twitching, their eyes burning with fury. Some screamed, "For war! We cannot bow. If we yield, we lose everything." Others whispered of fear. "If we push them again, we may lose far more than our empire. We may lose our species." For predators who had always thrived on dominance, the choice was unbearable. At last the Emperor himself spoke, his voice shaking with both rage and desperation. "Send them the message. We will not surrender." So it began. The Veyari launched their forbidden weapons, starbreakers designed to ignite suns, plagues meant to spread across worlds, engines of annihilation that could tear apart planets. They unleashed them all, believing that if they could not frighten humanity, they could at least destroy them. But humanity had been waiting. From the dark edges of space, human fleets moved, not hundreds, thousands. Warships larger than cities, their black hulls glowing with burning lines of light. Weapons that bent space itself. Fleets that no one in the galaxy had ever known existed. Humanity had not built them overnight. They had been waiting, hidden, buried for centuries beneath oceans, moons, and stars. Now they rose. The forbidden Veyari weapons never reached Earth. Plagues were burned from the void before they spread. Engines of annihilation were caught, dismantled, and turned back. Even the starbreakers, their proudest terror, were crushed in humanity's grasp like toys. The Veyari had thrown everything, and nothing worked. Then the humans moved forward. Their fleets surrounded Veyari worlds. Not just one, not just two. Dozens. They did not fire blindly. They did not slaughter without aim. They struck with precision. War factories, gone. Fleet yards, gone. Command centers, gone. The Empire was not destroyed in rage. It was dismantled with cold, terrifying efficiency. On the Veyari homeworld, sirens screamed. Skies burned with light. For the first time in their proud history, the predators looked up and saw themselves prey. They begged for mercy, but the humans did not answer with words. Their fleets simply stopped. Admiral Kira Voss appeared on their channels one final time. Her face was calm, her voice steady. "This was your choice. We warned you. Again and again we warned you. We told you to stop. You did not listen. And now your empire is over." Her eyes hardened. "Remember this. We do not enjoy war. But if you bring it to us, we will finish it. This is humanity's final warning to the galaxy. Do not mistake our silence for weakness ever again. The Veyari surrendered, not because they wanted to, because they had no choice. Their fleets were shattered, their weapons useless, their pride crushed. The empire that had ruled through fear was gone. Across the stars, the galaxy trembled. Some cheered, some wept, but all understood. Humanity had spoken, and its warning was carved into the stars themselves. Push us further, and we will stop pretending to be civilized. On Earth, Admiral Voss returned to the war room. The fleets were recalled, the weapons hidden once more. Her officers asked her quietly, "Do we keep the mask on again?" She looked at them, her face unreadable. "Yes," she said at last, "but this time they will remember what lies beneath it." The galaxy had finally learned the truth. Humanity's mercy was a mask, and the only thing more dangerous than human wrath was the day humanity chose to stop pretending.